today.
The history of the Grey Cup has been forged by players larger than life. The names, the faces, the memories come flooding back. And today, we recall some of the past Eskimo and Argo stalwarts who brought their teams to the final stage of champions. And as the Grey Cup returns here to Hamilton, a new generation of heroes is primed for their shot at glory. From among them, a few will step forward and make the difference. They will be cherished and remembered as the ones who earned the right to lift the cup in triumph.
The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports.
1 year ago, Baltimore ran away with the Grey Cup, taking it out of Canada. But now the Cup is back, disputed by old rivals Edmonton and Toronto. Great games through the years, none better than '87 when Gizmo broke loose. The Eskimos' Damon Allen found the corner of the end zone. And just when Danny Barrett had the Argos on the brink of victory, Jerry Korek turned the tables with his game winner, chalk up another Grey Cup for Edmonton. Today, a red-hot rivalry is renewed. Defense is what brought Edmonton here, suffocating, overpowering, setting up the Sean Fleming Western Final game-winning kick. Hey, kick-started is what Mike Clemens did, all the way for a touchdown as the Argos sailed on. Five-time most outstanding player Doug Flutie providing the finishing touch, placing his team in a position to grab the vaunted Grey Cup. Just after 5 o'clock on a snowy and cold afternoon here in the Golden Horseshoe area of southern Ontario. I'll tell you what, that picture's a bit deceiving because 90 minutes ago, it's been snowing for about 3 hours. This field was completely covered in snow. You see the equipment here. That was brought in about an hour ago. The league was unprepared and had just a couple of small snowplows that, quite frankly, were not doing the job. But the field, you see, is quite slippery. Out in the middle of the field, the Edmonton Eskimos accustomed to these conditions. The Toronto Argonauts, of course, are not. As we move into our host location, our host broadcast booth for the Grey Cup here in the southwestern corner of Ivor Wynne Stadium. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Williams. Welcome to CBC's coverage of the 1996 Grey Cup. The Edmonton Eskimos and the Toronto Argonauts. No question, you see the snowplow moving behind me. Weather is the big story here this afternoon. Let's show you the current conditions. It is actually above freezing. I think the winds are stronger than that. They've been gusting. With the temperature above freezing, you see a little snow. There's also freezing rain, but snow is forecast tonight. Here's the menu before we kick it off with the Eskimos and the Argonauts. We'll look at the brothers Flutie. That drive of '72 was the last time the Grey Cup was here. Chuck Ely, Tony Gabriel, and Ian Sutter will join us. They took the team down the field, the Hamilton Ticats, to defeat the Saskatchewan Roughriders by a score of 13-10. Russ Jackson, Jimmy Young will talk Hamilton High School football, and Joe Theisman will join us via satellite from St. Louis, where he is set to work the ESPN game tonight between the St. Louis Rams and the Green Bay Packers. Now, remember last year in Regina, we're going to go out to Steve Armitage, who is standing by on the sidelines. Last year in Regina, it was much colder than this, and they had those high winds. The north stands were in danger of maybe blowing over as we came on the air. But Steve, as we take it out to you, just in front of the north stands and move down to your broadcast position, it was colder, it was windier, but I'm not sure the conditions were as bad as this for the players.
Brian, I think I should be singing Frosty the Snowman. There's been enough snow on the artificial turf here at Ivor Wynne that you could have actually built a snowman. The Edmonton Eskimos for years have suggested that they were the best snow team in the CFL. That reputation could be put to a severe test here at Ivor Wynne today. A couple of players that we'll be watching very carefully with the Edmonton Eskimos. Sean Fleming is out here now. He has been treated for a sore right leg all week long, but he's been putting him through for 45, 50 yards in the snow right now. The other player that we'll be watching closely is Darren Flutie. Now, he is a key member of that team because of his ability to make those incredible receptions. He's had trouble moving the shoulder above this level. He denies that, but there's no denying the fact that he has been bothered by headaches and nausea, the result of a knock on the head. So those are two players the Eskimos will need in these kind of conditions to be successful against the Argos. Brian?
All right, Steve, you talk about Darren Flutie. It's widely perceived that Doug Flutie does not perform well under these conditions. I spoke with James Curry a short time ago, who will work the game today with David Archer and Chris Cuthbert. James says that's not true. Under these conditions, Flutie has led teams to an average point total of 33 points a game. The problem for Doug Flutie in the past has been, quite frankly, that he's not played on teams that have a defense that can play under these conditions. And remember, the Argonauts play under a dome. Speaking of the brothers Flutie, they should be a big story here this evening. And with more, here is CBC's Mark Lee.
I want to know who called whom after the division finals to wish them congratulations.
I think I called first, but he wasn't home yet. I talked to his wife, Terry.
You know, I woke up early, like at 6. I was sitting by the phone waiting for family members to call me. No one called me. It was my birthday. I was a little disappointed.
I got him later on his birthday, but I still haven't gotten him a present yet. That's for sure.
Darren, tell me what it was like growing up at home with Doug, the big star, big brother. I understand you got beat up quite a bit.
Yeah, that made me a little bit tougher. You know, I have another brother, Bill, and they get on their knees and try to make me run through them when I was little, carrying the football and go up and over, and I think it toughened me up a little bit.
Really? Tell me about your rookie year at Boston College. What was it like playing together for the first time?
My best memories, I didn't have too many. I wasn't that good of a football player back then. But I guess my first touchdown catch from him against Holy Cross.
And I didn't even realize it was Darren out there, and I kind of looked down the middle and went up outside, and next thing I know, it was Darren catching the ball.
That game in '94, the West Final. Can you describe, I guess, the closing seconds, Darren, to you?
I've tried to do it before. It was just one of those moments, I guess, as an athlete, I was so concentrated on what I was doing and what I had to do to help our team that I didn't notice anything else around me. I was just worried about running my routes and catching the football, and you know, as soon as I caught the winning touchdown, I was just like, we did it. Great feeling.
And as soon as the arms went up in the end zone, I couldn't see who caught the ball, but I just assumed it was Darren. And when I got out to the field, I went over to him and asked, you caught that, didn't you? He says, yeah. I called him a name, put my arm around him, gave him a hug, and headed to the locker room. Out of the 15, 16 times I played against him, that's the only one anyone remembers, and it's the only one he won.
Really?
I get a kick out of people saying how cold weather, it's going to hurt Doug, and not a cold weather guy. And I think about the games we've played against him in cold weather. Like that game, I don't know what it was, 37-36, and Doug Flutie let him down. They scored 36 points. He probably threw for almost 400 yards. And I mean, I just think he's the best big game player I know. And yet he has that tag, and that just makes me think of that game.
You were saying the other day you were amazed at Darren's performance last weekend because he never wants to go out in the cold and the snow.
He doesn't want to skate. He doesn't want to ski. He wears gloves. He wears his heavy parka, right?
Look at him.
He hates being cold, and he gets cold, and he's freezing during the games. But that ball goes near him, he catches it. And he's going to do his job and do whatever it takes. There's a mental toughness that comes into play that some people just don't have. And Darren, no matter what the conditions are, whatever the situation is, if you give him an opportunity to make the play, he's going to make the play.
I hate playing in cold weather, but what choice do you have? You know, you got whatever 36 other guys depending on you to do your job, to help them.
Yeah.
You have no choice. You play hard, and you got to win.
And so amid all the Grey Cup hype of Flutie versus Flutie, two brothers stole a quiet game of catch. Today, they play for keeps.
By the way, Mark Lee wanted me to tell you he was playing in loafers. That's why he got beat. There's been so much talk, and for good reason, about the demise of the league. Is this the last of the big Grey Cups? Ottawa is already history, the team having folded. I'll tell you what, without the Canadian Football League, this country would be a lot poorer. It has a rich tradition and history. And folks, you do not develop tradition and history overnight.
Hard enough to keep up with these crazy days, and the telephone just won't stop ringing. I wonder if there's ever
pull a stump out of the ground. Take the family snowmobiling. Fill it with planks and build the kids an outdoor rink. Volunteer as a designated driver. Dodge Ram.
More and more Canadians use Magic Bag to relieve pain and promote relaxation. Available in 2 sizes, this all-natural thermotherapeutic pad marvelously embraces all contours of the body. At last, an essential product that's a real pleasure to receive as a gift. Magic Bag, the new way for Canadians to relieve pain and promote relaxation.
Bad breath can strike anytime, anywhere, just like me. Keep your eyes open. He's clever. Ooh. Hungry?
You know you can help guard against bad breath with chlorets.
Here, big fella. Keep these on you, just in case. Don't take chances with your breath. Get chlorets! Santa bags are coming. Santa bags are coming. Santa bags are coming. Santa bags are coming to yours. Watch out. Look around. We're coming.
New Coca-Cola Santa Packs, the only real holiday refreshment. Look for this display at your store.
Holiday refreshments like we bring. A proper Santa pack, it's always the real thing. Santa packs are coming. Always Coca-Cola.
The Argos called them long handoffs. Officially, Mike Pinball Clemens wiped out Terry Greer's Argo club record for receptions by hauling in more than 100 passes, usually of the short variety. The secret was to get the shifty pinball away from traffic, where he'd be most dangerous. And it worked. Oh, did it work. And as for many happy returns, he saved the best for last, or rather the opening play of the Eastern Final. 91 yards, touchdown, and an Argonaut win. Pinball, full tilt.
Well, you see the plows having trouble keeping up with the snow. This area, Hamilton, Ancaster, Burlington, Stony Creek, the surrounding communities, have produced some great football players over the years. 4 from this region in the game today. Edmonton middle linebacker Bruce Dixon. For the Argonauts, the pride and joy of Stony Creek, Paul Massotti, his cousin Mike Morielli, and right guard Chris Giaskis. Hamilton, the Steel City, a city home to 317,000. The image burns brightly. It's the blue-collar town. But it is also a city of style, with fine, stately homes, a community with values, and all of the amenities. It's a place where honest labor is rewarded and heroes flourish. And many of those heroes wore the colors of the Ticats, people like Ralph Sazio and quarterback Joe Zuger. How about the irrepressible Angelo Mosca, each adding their zest for the game. The great quarterback, Bernie Filoni. And tough as nails, Wally Zatilny. For them, playing for the Ticats meant magic, as it did for Chuck Ely. We'll see him in the drive from 72. Tommy Joe Coffey, hard workers all. And when you talk football in this city, it is more than just the Ticats. Behind me is Westdale High School. Now, Westdale, along with Cathedral, Central, Delta, schools in this city, in fact, the whole region, over the years, they have produced some of the greatest stars in the Canadian Football League. People like Russ Jackson. If you take in the region, Tony Gabriel. Jackson and Gabriel, the only 2 Canadians to be named Outstanding Player. Jimmy Young, the great star of the BC Lions. Quarterback Frank Cosentino. The list goes on and on. Today, there are some 30 high schools here in the Hamilton region still involved in football. Now, Ed Turek starred for the Central Golden Ghosts back in the 1960s, went on to play for the Ticats, and today, Ed Turek is head coach at Glendale High School.
The 60s were glory years in high school football. I remember crowds, you know, for a regular season game of 3,000 to 4,000. And when we went into the playoffs, that would go up to 8,000 to 10,000.
A player that put Hamilton on the map was Russ Jackson, the finest Canadian quarterback ever, grew from Hamilton roots, from high school to college to CFL stardom. You started here at Westdale, you started up the road at McMaster. What made high school football in this city so special?
Well, Brian, I think back when I was here at Westdale High School, it brings back a lot of memories, but football was a way of life. I mean, everybody was raised and went to the corner lots, me in the west end of the city here, and threw the football, kicked the football, played touch football, turned it into tackle. And when you came to high school, you wanted to play football. Football was it. You wanted to be a part of that program, and it was important to everybody.
And if you wanted football success, Cathedral was the place to be. The Gales, the Hamilton-Wentworth region powerhouse for half a century. Cathedral still is dominating the local football scene to collect 30 championships in the last 48 years. The who's who of graduates, ranging from the days when Frank Cosentino quarterbacked the Cathedral Gales to the likes of Pete Giftopoulos in the 1980s. A lot of other high schools were strong. Delta in the city's East End. We talked about Ed Turek, his brother Ernie. Central High School. Each had their graduates eventually moving on to the pro ranks. And of course in the West End, Westdale. Russ Jackson School, where back in the 1950s, the star quarterback wasn't wearing number 12, he'd later make famous, but rather the look that said, "Proud to play for my school." And others would aspire to similar goals. Great receivers like Dirty 30, Jimmy Young of the BC Lions, another great Hamilton High School product, Peter Dallariva from Montreal. When Jackson's playing days were over, he returned to Ontario high schools as a teacher and then a principal, maintaining close contact with the teenagers involved with football. Russ, the perception today is that high school football is dying in many areas of the country. Why do you think that's so?
Well, I think the perception is right. But I think the perception, the reasons people give are somewhat misdirected. A lot of people talk about football as probably not being as successful in a lot of the high schools because of the cost of equipment, injuries, and things like that. I don't believe that's the main reason. I think that schools can provide football equipment for the players. The parents don't have to buy it. And I don't think there are any more injuries in football than there are in a lot of the other sports. But I think that one of the reasons, and I know from where I was in the Mississauga Peel area, the ethnic populations coming to our country and coming into our high schools at age 12, 13, 14 weren't brought up like you and I were on Canadian football. And I think because the ethnic kids are there and they don't understand it, the sports in the high schools are changing.
Still, high school football survives here in Hamilton, and the hope remains that a progression to the pro ranks remains possible. What do you tell a youngster today at McMaster? You played at Mac. Good football player, chance to play pro ball, CFL perhaps dying. What do you say to him?
Well, I think you got to be positive. I believe the CFL will survive. So I'm going to tell that football player at McMaster, hey, we're going to be there. You're going to have that opportunity, as I did, to play a professional game of football. And don't give up on that. Don't think that it won't be there.
The mind's eye returns to days when the CFL thrived, when heroes rose up larger than life to seize the moment, to provide inspiration for others to match their deeds. The Grey Cup and Hamilton football each retain a special magic. Has that magic passed? That's the million-dollar question. Again, this area, including Burlington, Ancaster. We mentioned just a few of the players. You could talk about Howell, Francis, Mazza, Wazlowski. We'd be here for the next 30 minutes. A great football tradition. Speaking of football traditions, up next, Joe Theisman joins us from St. Louis to talk about the 71 Grey Cup and the future of Canadian football.
So you think you're ready for the pros? Think you're good enough? Fast enough? You kidding? Man enough? Ever had Narcelux?
No.
Stay in school, kid.
McDonald's Arch Deluxe. It's the burger with the grown-up taste.
I wonder what it would be like if people made promises and kept them. I say I'm going to do something, I do it. You could actually count on it. Imagine if everybody just kept their word. What would the world be like then?
We're M-Banks. We're a whole new kind of banking from Bank of Montreal. We believe in keeping promises. We're M-Banks.
Imagine.
What does it take to get a beautiful smile? A little patience and some Trident. Because Trident with Dentec is proven to prevent cavities by up to 62%. After all, a smile is a precious thing. Even if it's just developing. Trident, the first gum recognized by the Canadian Dental Association.
Healthcare. Do we have a choice?
I thought this was a given. This was going to be here for me, and it's not.
A National McLean special.
Large numbers of needy people that are falling through the cracks. We're talking about people's health. Absolutely. It sounds scary.
The National, Tuesday at 10.
Burnout.
Last night I got to bed at about 3:25.
The strains.
If I look tired, it's because I am.
The stresses.
Your family life, your marriage, that's secondary.
On the way to the top. Tonight on Venture, right after Sunday Report.
Well, they continue to clear the field here. It is listed as a sellout. That's only because Tim Horton Donuts bought 4,000 tickets for underprivileged kids, and they were selling 2-for-1 tickets yesterday in Toronto. Remember our coverage from the Atlanta Olympics, Winnipeg's Peter Jordan, his excellent adventure from a fan's perspective? We'll leave it to Peter to plunge into an assignment. We'll show you how he covered the parade here yesterday in Hamilton. There he is. After touring Atlanta, you'll understand why we figured Peter Jordan was the perfect candidate for a tour of the Grey Cup city, Hamilton.
I'm going to the Cup. Hope all these people don't want tickets to the game. Come on, people. We've got parties to get to. There's Hamilton. We made it. Look at that. It's got a lake. It's got hills. Oh, it's got steel mills.
Yeah, this is one of our largest steel plants here in Hamilton. We have 1,100 acres.
So I guess Hamilton was basically built by steel, eh? You know, I have to say this. The whole time you've been taking me on this tour, I keep thinking that I know you from somewhere.
Well, if you go to CFL games, you might see me down there somewhere. Does this better help?
Oh, yeah, man. You are Pigskin Pete.
That's right.
Hey, you know, Pigskin, I'm not a Ticats fan, but I'd love to do the cheer. Can we do the cheer?
Everybody. Ah-ski-wee-wee. Ah-ski-wah-wah. Holy Mackinac. Tigers.
Listen, that wee-wee thing, does it mean anything?
Not really.
Do you know how to do that Oski-wee-wee thing?
Yeah, I sure do.
Do you?
Yeah. Oski-wee-wee.
Oski-wah-wah.
Holy Mackinac. Tigers.
Now let's go. Let's party. Walk down the highway. All night long.
Well, Peter, here we are at Sheila Copp's Grey Cup Spaghetti Dinner.
Oh, that's right. She's from Hamilton.
That's right, Hamiltonese. You got to believe it.
I rode away, got one of your free flags, and I'd like to give you this in exchange.
Thank you. Well, you're going to see a lot of them in the parade tomorrow and on Sunday, and hopefully we'll keep on flying that flag. Thousands of Canadian flags!
Well, look at that. It's the Mona Lisa. Hamilton East. I thought it was in the Louvre all the time. At the hot dog stand. Isn't that Angelo Mosca?
That's him. That's him. I know him.
You know what? We used to just hate him as kids because he beat up the Bombers all the time, you know?
Right,
you know what we called him Angelo.
Oh, geez, don't call him Magic.
Really?
Don't call him Magic.
Will you introduce me, though?
I'll introduce
you.
Sure. Don't call him Magic.
Yeah, okay. It's a real honor to meet you, Angela.
Angelo's my name. I don't wear high heel shoes.
Yes, sir.
Angela does.
Yes, sir, Angela.
Angela's my name.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Royal Canut Howard Johnson, sir. Can I help you?
Yeah, I wonder if you might have a double room. We're really tired. We've been at every party in the Grey Cup.
I'm sorry, I only have a single available, sir.
All right, no horseshoes.
messing around then tonight.
We'll take it.
Okay, sir.
I thought we lost that guy at the Atlanta Olympics when he packed in his car. Peter Jordan from Winnipeg. Let's shift gears and go back to Empire Stadium. 25 years ago, Joe Theisman, the quarterback, after a Dick Thornton interception, hands off to Leon McQuay, who fumbles, and the Argonauts fail to beat Calgary in the Grey Cup. Theisman didn't win the Grey Cup, but we move ahead to 1983. Here's Theisman leading the Washington Redskins to a Super Bowl victory over Miami. And this afternoon, Joe Theisman joins us from St. Louis, where he works the ESPN game tonight, the Rams and the Packers. Joe, thank you for joining us. You remember that play 25 years ago?
God, I do, Brian. Thank you very much for bringing it up. I had a good day going till you showed that. I'll never forget the day. And really what I remember almost a little bit more is prior to that play, after Dick intercepted the pass, as he was running towards that end zone, that's where the car sat that went to the MVP of the Grey Cup. And all Dick Thornton could think about in his mind was, that car is mine, that car is mine. And then I'll remember coming to the sidelines after Leon fumbled, and I looked at Dick and he went, "That car's not mine anymore, is it?" And I said, "No, it's not." But it was a great experience to play in the Grey Cup. Even a Super Bowl, in my opinion, was not as exciting as playing in the Grey Cup for the first time as a Toronto Argonaut.
Joe, when you were here, you played 3 years. The league was in trouble. It's in serious trouble now. Ottawa Rough Riders are gone. From where you sit this afternoon in Missouri, where do you see the CFL fitting into the North American football picture?
I think the CFL will maintain and should maintain its own identity. It is a different brand of football, and it should keep that. The Canadian people have something to be very proud of. And I think it gives any athlete, whether they be Canadian or American, a viable alternative to go and continue to play and polish their skills. They don't necessarily have to worry about the mental aspects of the game, because football really is football, and you can learn a system in a short period of time. But I really think that maybe downsizing, maybe limiting to 6 to 8 teams or 4 to 6 teams might be the right solution to keep the Canadian Football League preserved as an entity unto itself.
Joe, we're running out of time, but if you go down to 4 or 6 teams, you know, you see one team too often. There's been talk it becomes a feeder league for the NFL. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's been a feeder league anyway for the NFL. I mean, you look at the guys that have come down. It's not done purposely, but it turns out to be that way, and that's just the way it's set up. The NFL, I don't think, can expand too much further, and I think the Canadian League has to maintain some sense of leagueship in the Canadian areas.
What about Doug Flutie? There are NFL scouts here this afternoon. We keep hearing he's 34 years of age, that he could go back to the NFL. You were considered too small.
I was considered too small. Doug has always been considered too small by everybody except me. I think Doug Flutie can play anywhere. I felt he could play in the National Football League. He's the most talented player in the Canadian League. He's proven he has great athletic ability still. His arm strength is as good as it's been, and he just adds an air of excitement. I think he could come down here and be a backup. I don't know if that would suit Doug Flutie's personality, though. I think he's better suited to stay in Canada. The league is built for him, and he can flourish in it.
Joe, just a couple of seconds, 2 quick questions. Would American players come up here? Larry Smith is a lame duck commissioner, I believe. He wants to restructure and downsize economically. Would American players come up and play for less?
I think so. I think that American players will play for the opportunity to play. You see them play in continental leagues. You see them play in different leagues in the U.S. I think if they had an opportunity to make a little bit of money, go up and experience the Canadian League, and actually get a chance to play where some scouts can go look at them, yeah, I think they'd seize the opportunity.
How do you see the game, Joe? You know the coaches, Ronnie Lancaster you played against, and Don Matthews.
I think the Argonauts are just too loaded. I think Ronnie's done a terrific job, and I think coaching in the Canadian League as a former player is good. It doesn't work in the NFL. It works in the CFL. I don't think he has enough magic, though. I think Flutie has the magic this week.
All right, no late fumbles by Toronto this year, eh?
God, I hope not.
All right, thanks for joining us, Joe. Have a good game tonight, the Packers and Rams in St. Louis.
Thanks, Brian.
And that interview was taped earlier this afternoon. Joe talked about Ronnie Lancaster. Lancaster and the Eskimos are on the field. Hey, Theisman said the Argos are loaded. I'll tell you what, Edmonton loves this weather. Back live in Hamilton after this.
1994, after a decade of decline, America's oil rigs lay ravaged by age, disuse, and obsolescence. Kiki Delaney maintains a patient vigil, then pulls the trigger. For her clients, she buys 50,000 shares of Precision Drilling, an innovative Alberta rigging operation. In 2 years, their value doubles. Spectrum United, 175 portfolio managers, 409 research associates, 38 countries, one vision.
BF Goodrich TA tires are for people who look at driving like no one else. BF Goodrich. Show them your true colors.
Here come the Brinks trucks to Windsor Raceway. They're delivering $1 million to be won by anyone who can pick the winners of races 3 through 12 on Provincial Cup Night, Sunday, December 1st, post time 6:30. See the best 3-year-old pacers in North America compete for $200,000 in purse money. And play the Pick 10 and win $1 million. No wagering required. Free entry blanks in every program. The winning combination is right before your eyes. Free parking and admission. Win $1 million. Sunday, December 1st, Provincial Cup Night at Windsor Raceway. Post time 6:30.
You have to hustle nowadays. It's a pretty fast-paced world. There's a lot going on in my life right now. This is my first home. Starting a new business. Very excited about it. New relationship. Doesn't get any more crazy than this. The last thing you want to worry about is a car. Chicken salad. It's nice to know that I have a reliable vehicle that's not going to let me down. There's lots of room. Excellent gas mileage. There's so much bedlam going on. My Neon has been the most dependent, reliable part of my life right now.
Jamming up the middle. Few have ever done it better than Willie Pless, former Argo, now the glue of the Eskimos defense. The former University of Kansas star is a 4-time winner of the Most Outstanding Defensive Player Award, including 3 times in a row, and is equally adept at stopping the run and the pass. A 32-year-old Alabama native is a perennial all-star, a rugged leader. Willie Pless knows what it takes to win.
Well, the crowd beginning to pour in here this afternoon at Ivor Stadium, and they'd better be dressed warmly. The Eskimos on the field. Of course, the Ticats and the Hamilton fans hate Toronto, so Ronnie Lancaster and the Eskimos received a loud ovation when they came out just a couple of minutes ago. We're going back down to Steve Armitage, who's going to talk about the chemistry between Danny McManus and Darren Flutie. But first of all, Steve, have the weather conditions improved at all out there?
Not a bit, Brian. It is still snowing. It's still coming down. I talked to somebody just a few minutes ago, and they said the wind should drop around 6:30. He's an old sailor on the lakes here, and he said that is the normal course of events. We'll have to wait and see. A lot has been written and said about the Flutie magic that he delivers to the Argos. But how about the special relationship in Edmonton between Darren Flutie and his quarterback, Danny McManus? What is so special about that?
I think we're both experienced in street football, and I mean, he sees an open area, he runs to it, and I see it, and I just throw it there. And I really don't know. I don't know if we have some weird bonding or something like that, but I mean, he just does a great job getting open, and my job is just to get it to him.
I don't know how I explain it. I like Danny. I just think he's a great competitor and a great fighter, and I think we're kind of similar in that way. So we're two guys that will never give up. We might get our butts kicked, but we're not going to give up, and we're going to keep fighting. And I think, you know, that's true in sports as in every part of life. If you don't give up, good things are going to happen, and we've been fortunate.
Other Flutie and his quarterback, Danny McManus. Now with something from the Argos sideline, let's go to Mark Lee. Mark?
All right, Steve, obviously under these inclement conditions, footwear is paramount here this evening. Most of the players are spending the pregame warm-ups experimenting with shoes. I have with me the Spot-Built Monster. This is what Gizmo Williams and most of the Edmonton Eskimos will be wearing this evening. You can see it has studs along the outside of the sole of the shoe. It gives a lot better protection, a lot more grip on the field. The same shoes the Gizmo says he wore in that 68-7 slaughter of Winnipeg in the Western semifinal. Doug Flutie told me he'll be wearing Puma shoes, which have long cleats. But for Doug Flutie, he's sponsored by Nike, and he says that means he's going to have to tape over or spat the Puma logo, which will reduce about a third of the traction on the bottom of the shoe. The man who runs the stadium here, Dave Cowan, tells me it takes about a half an hour to clean the surface of this field. If the snow continues, it could mean that the halftime show will be canceled to allow the cleaners to work through the halftime while the players are off. And if you're a sideline commentator, Brian, the shoe of the day is the Greb Kodiak. Keep me nice and toasty warm. Back to you.
Yeah, but you haven't got a contract for those like Flutie has. Listen, Don Matthews has, what, 7 Grey Cup rings, 5 as an assistant coach in Edmonton, 1 as a head coach with Baltimore, 1 as a head coach with Vancouver. Ron Lancaster won a Grey Cup ring as a player in 1966 with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Earlier this week, Ron Lancaster and Don Whitman, both Hall of Famers, got together to sit down and talk football here in Hamilton. Hamilton, the home to the CFL's Hall of Fame.
Ever since I came to Canada, and that's 36 years ago now since I moved up here, I've always liked the city of Hamilton. Number one, it's a lot like my hometown where I was raised. Steel mill industry was king where I was, and it was the king here. And you get to know what type of people live in steel mills towns. They're the shot in the beer type of guy, man. They work hard, they play hard, they live hard, and they have fun. And they're very, what you would call very tough individuals. And they've always been a defensive team here, and that brings out the toughness of the city. So I always liked it in this area. And getting to come back and play, it's kind of special. It's a lot like going home. It would be a lot like last year had we played it in Saskatchewan, you know.
Yeah, that would have really been special.
That would have been unbelievable after living there as long as I did. But coming back here is kind of special because I just kind of like the area, and it's going to be a good one.
Well, you've had some fun during your career, Ron, as a player. I remember a game out in Vancouver where you were stealing the defensive signals of the BC Lions. Tell that story.
You know, you got to remember back then the signals were always called by the guy on the field. Then it's changed now, and this was in the process of changing. And Dick Zorns was the defensive coordinator with Eagle Keys, and I would always look at the defensive signal. Here's the way I looked. I had nothing to do after I handed the ball off anyway, so I might as well look see what they're doing on the bench. The only signal I ever really wanted to try to get, if I could get it, was the blitz. Because I think if you're going to blitz, we're going to try to hurt you. So I'd watch and I'd watch and I'd watch Dick Zorn signal these things in. And the only signal that I could get, anytime Ray Nettles, the middle linebacker, didn't get the signal, he would put his hands on his helmet like this, and then they'd re-signal. So we happened to be right in front of the BC bench, and we run the play, and I'm talking to one of the players, and when I turned to look at the sideline, Zorns was laughing because I didn't see any signal, and I went, he went, and I started laughing. I mean, he's laughing, I'm laughing, but you have a lot of fun. You know, these are things that I guess you just do, and you do it on the spur of the moment and have a good time with.
There's another time when you asked Al Ford, I believe, to take a look at the bench and get a signal.
That's right. Playing in Calgary, and Dick Monroe was the defensive coach there, and we happened to be going away from the locker board at that time where it said Calgary up on the hill, going in that direction. And our huddle was a circle, so I was on one knee, and I just happened to look over, and I could see Dick Monroe signaling. And okay, so we watch him, we move the ball down the field, and anyway, next thing, we move the ball down the field. And I figured out that it wasn't what he was doing with his hands, it was what he did with his feet. Now the quarter changes, now I got a problem, because now I'm looking away. So Al Ford was in the back of the huddle, and he always stood like this anyway. So I said, Al, just kind of watch over there and tell me where Dick Monroe puts his feet, how he handles it. You should never say anything around the offensive lineman, because here's our whole team standing here like this, looking over. Well, that ended the signals. They changed it. Beat the heck out of us anyway. It didn't really matter. But I had a lot of fun doing things like that.
What do you remember about that 72 game?
You know what? There are a lot of things that when you say something, there's something that just sticks out in your mind. And
Ian Sunder kicking the field goal, I guess, is the most.
I mean, it was so pretty. I mean, the scene is set. I mean, it just depends on whose side you're on. You know, we're standing on our side, you know, and we see the clock ticking down, and them lining up for the field goal, and then the ball's in the air, and the clock hits 0, and the ball goes through the uprights with the sunshine in the back. I mean, what a great sunset, and it's over.
And a dagger right through your heart.
That's right, and there's not anything you do about it. But I really remember that. I mean, the picture is really vivid. It's there.
What scene do you envision this Sunday?
I hope it's the clock ticking to zero and Sean Fleming kicking it through. I think that's all we can ask. Any team can ever ask is when you get into a big game, and this naturally is a big game, to have the opportunity to win it on the last play of the game.
Well, Ron Lancaster is a coaching legend, even if he did steal a few signals during his day. Kent Austin, Dave Sapunjas will be our game day analyst. They join me now in the broadcast booth at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Thank goodness the players are tougher than commentators, because you wouldn't believe the whining that started as soon as they opened the window up here.
That was from you, Scott.
Yeah. Dave, let's talk about this coaching matchup. Two different personalities, the confident Don Matthews against the humble Ron Lancaster. Do their teams reflect the personalities of their coaches?
Oh, I think so. I think Ron is very calm. He's cool, and the players are out in the field. And they're very smart. They're under control all the time. And then you look at Matthews, and they play with a lot of excitement, a lot of emotion. Matthews lets them play the way they want to. When they score a touchdown, there's 5 or 6 guys celebrating in the end zone, having fun.
Kent, the Eskimos have played in exactly this kind of weather in each of the past 2 weeks. Did they awake this morning, look out the window, and go, thank goodness?
Well, they may have, but I don't think it's going to be a factor unless the snow really starts to accumulate on the field. If that happens, then it favors Edmonton because they got a good fullback, a big fullback, strong fullback in Burse, and a better running game with Blunt.
However, Dave, you know this better than anybody. Where other teams worry about this kind of weather, the Eskimos, in fact, welcome it.
Oh, sure. They probably saw the snow coming down and it gave them an emotional lift, and I'm sure they're looking forward to playing in the snow.
Kent, no screws or staples required for traction today?
You can't use that on the turf.
All right, thank you both. Look forward to your comments throughout the game day coverage today. Right now, Brian, back to you.
Well, you talked about Edmonton. There's Darren Flutie about 10 feet outside our booth. He just looked in the booth about 2 minutes ago and said to me, we love these conditions. Back after this.
Rivals. Unlike any other in sport, now the film that captures their story can be yours. Forever Rivals. The critics were unanimous. Excellent. Outstanding. A must-see. This special 2-volume set has been digitally mastered in stereo and includes footage not broadcast. There has never been a collection of hockey heroes like this before. Forever Rivals, the Maple Leafs, and the Canadiens. A passionate look at our teams and our game. If you're a hockey fan, this is the one film you'll want to own. Forever Rivals, available now in stores everywhere.
Wednesday night, Rita and Friends, starring Rita McNeil, with her special guests, the Rankin family.
That's how we'll always be.
Tom Jackson, 5440, and Davna Doyle. Rita and Friends, Wednesday at 8 on CBC Television.
I can't look these people in the face and tell them they're fired.
Do it fast. Middle of the night, you pack their desk into a cardboard box. Send it down to the front door with a couple of security cops. They tell them they're fired, and if they come back, they'll arrest them for trespassing.
These are people with lives and families, okay?
You make up a basket with capers, anchovies, smoked oysters.
No anchovies.
Well, then a tin of lobster, whatever.
How much is lobster a can?
Crab meat's cheaper.
I can live with crab meat. Done.
Well, as you see, as we come back to Ivor Wynne Stadium, they are still working on the field. Both teams are on the field. The Edmonton Eskimos, of course, love these conditions. There's Don Matthews. Is that Jake Ireland, I believe, the referee he's talking to? Matthews and the Argonauts, not really enamored with these conditions. Doug Flutie, though, says it doesn't matter. James Curry said earlier he averages 33 points under conditions like this. The problem has been his defenses have not been good in these conditions in the past. The last time the game was here in '72, on their final possession, the Ticats went the length of the field to kick a field goal and beat Saskatchewan. Earlier this week, to relive that drive, I had some fun here with Chuck Ely, Tony Gabriel, and Ian Sutter.
10-10 the score. 2 minutes left to go. Bob Pierce kicking from the Saskatchewan 50. Clark at at the 12-yard line. He's almost slipped through that pocket.
34,000 fans. You're a rookie out of the University of Toledo. A tie ball game. What's going through your mind?
Well, I think probably the fact that I was a rookie, thinking that I couldn't do anything wrong, long way down the field, and just sort of thinking about the situation that I played enough championship games to just do what I normally do very naturally and just do the best you can on the field.
Tell me about the first play over the middle to Gabriel. I was surprised it was the first catch of the day for Gabriel.
Well, the kind of offense we had, it was kind of one of those offenses that you read what happens, and a lot of times they were taking a lot of things away from Tony during the game, and at this particular time, the reaction was that they moved away from him and allowed me to throw a couple passes to him.
Healy over the center, and it's good there to Tony Gabriel for his first catch of the day. Up to the 43-yard line for a gain of 27 yards.
All right, it's a 27-yard gain to the 43-yard line. First catch of the day by a young, quiet fella that never said anything in the huddle.
Well, it was the kind of guy that you can count on in a big catch, and Tony was coming through that day.
It's nice to be reunited once again. You kind of bring a tear or two to my eye here, Brian.
First down at the Hamilton 42-yard line, and this game has gone wild. Over the middle, here's a Tony Gabriel. Gabriel has another first down for 11 yards. 1 minute and 15 seconds left on the clock.
Well, there was a blitz, I guess, from the linebacker, and immediately I detected that, looked over my right shoulder, and Chuck was already, firing the ball my way, and thankfully I caught it once again.
Was there a point? Was this it when you said, hey, we're going to win this game?
I don't think there was a point, Chuck, that we didn't think that we couldn't do it.
I think that all was
good feeling out there.
Yeah, in the last drive in itself, I think we were confident all the way down. Even though the score was low for both teams, we were moving the ball, and it was just a matter of who was going to get the last shot at it.
Now, watching all this on the sidelines, the man that Johnny Esau called, fellas, the pride and joy of Dundee, Scotland, Ian Sutter. Good to see you. What was going through your mind?
Well, the first thought that I had was, Chuck, find a way to get that ball into the end zone. I don't want to kick.
Well, the next play, it's Ely to Gabriel for the final time.
Well, I think right now it's sort of getting tense, I guess. From the quarterback, you're beginning to recognize the possibilities here.
Got behind or beside Manchuk, I think, on that play, and they were all in his zone, still playing the prevent, and was able to, just come up with I guess we got into another first down situation.
Now the big play. Now, why didn't they go to you? What happened to you?
Brian, the play before, thankfully, I was able to stay in the game, but I got hit in a very sensitive area.
That's enough.
Thank God I was in to stay in the block.
All right. The big play to Henley, tell us about it. 26 down to the 26-yard.
I was trying to just get field position as best I could for Ian or whatever the decision was, what kind of kick or whether we're going to punt at that time. So I saw Henley coming across the middle and just try to release the ball quick because the defense was putting a lot of pressure on him.
Field goal! Field goal!
Ian, you kicked it from, I think, the 34. Do you remember where you were in the field?
Yes, we were just right here, just outside the right-hand goal post.
Exact position you're in now?
Yes, sir.
What did Jerry Williams say to you when you came off?
It was really simple. He just said, go out and win it for us.
As Al Ford back there along with Bob Pierce, two punters. Henley will hold. Will try from the 34. It's good. That'll be it, the last play of the game. Hamilton Tiger Cats on the last play of the game kicked the field goal to beat the Saskatchewan Roughriders 13-10.
It went right through. As you look here this afternoon, it was about this time of day, as a matter of fact. Thoughts that go through your mind?
Well, I could still envision it happening, and afterwards, seconds afterwards, Garney and I think, embraced, and it was just bedlam out here. To win such an event in your own hometown, in your own stadium, you can't put words to it.
Fellas, thank you. Some great memories, and great to relive that drive.
Yeah. Terrific.
Thank you.
Super.
And there's a look at Ronnie Lancaster, who played in that game in 1972. The place kickers today, Mike Vanderjet for the Toronto Argonauts, Danny McManus, the Edmonton quarterback, and Sean Fleming is the place kicker for the Eskimos, who had that great day last week in Calgary. Back in Hamilton after this.
If the choice was yours, you'd wear something casual to work. But in reality, you have to wear steel-toed work boots. So you wear comfortable, lightweight Dakota Aggressor work boots with the safety you need and the all-day comfort you want. So, When work's finished, you're not. Dakota Aggressor work boots for men and women, only at Mark's Work Warehouse.
The Windsor Evening News. It's about where you play.
When I arrive to start my day, the first question I ask myself is, what are people talking about today? It's a great community for sports. It's just so active. Vibrant minor sports community. High school sport is huge in this area. My experience allows me to make that judgment and provide people with the stories that they want to see.
Watch Tony Doucette and the Windsor Evening News. Home team at 5:30 and 11.
Hi, I'm Chaz Hay, the host of Inside Country. If you love country music in all its forms, then check out the very first Inside Country compilation album. 18 of my favorite tracks from the mainstream to the cutting edge, including Mary Chapin Carpenter,
In a house of cards,
George Dukas, Prairie Oyster, and more. The Inside Country compilation album is a collection of amazing songs by some of the best country and roots music artists in the world.
Inside Country, available in stores now.
Introducing Plymouth Breeze. While it has 16 valves worth of acceleration and sleek aerodynamics, it also has a specially modified double wishbone suspension system for superior handling, which really makes the new Plymouth Breeze a lot of fun to drive.
Franchise back on top. Big shots, big bucks, big city, big blue. The swagger is back in the Argo bounce.
Loose, relaxed, and confident.
You want to have a ball? You got to go out and spend some cash.
Showtime 1991. The Argos go Hollywood. Rocket Ismail becomes the status symbol that makes football chic in a trendy city.
To bring a puzzle together that was just amazing, and then to play that whole thing out, to be undefeated at home on your own home turf, to have one of the most spectacular opening days of anybody, anywhere, in any sport.
You felt important on that team, and you know, it was, to me, I met so many different Hollywood faces. You know, I took a lot of pictures and everything out of my scrapbook at home, and you know, it was just amazing to see that kind of atmosphere, and to plus win the Grey Cup.
Even that can of beer aimed at the Rocket missed. There was no stopping the glamorous but hated Argos in 1991.
It was kind of like out of the blue. That season was just, it was hard to explain. It was phenomenal. With Rocket coming and the fans supporting us the way they did, they really came to the ballpark that year.
I can't stop the feelings that I feel inside.
First of all, I never thought that this would ever happen.
Just 1 year later, Dunnigan leaves the Argos in a contract dispute. The team was being dismantled. No quarterback, no glamour, no fun.
Those years were very difficult. To say that it was as fun as it is now, no way, not even close. It was difficult. At times, you almost felt like, is it worth it?
At times, it wasn't. The Argos were a disgrace and dead last.
Not signing Matt Dunnigan changed not only our team, but I think it changed the whole face of the league. When you lose a #1 guy, and then you have to trade a lot of all-stars away like Ed Berry, Don Wilson, J.P. Esquerdo, Bruce Dixon, it takes a lot out of your team.
We could have really had a dynasty going there, and you know, just keeping the players we had together, we would have been able to do those things. I mean, you always had to bring a Matt Dunnigan back. Why would you let your best quarterback go?
By 1995, the Argos were a sorry football team. They had only 4 wins that season, and they were going largely unnoticed in Toronto. That's when the owners decided it was time to spend big money on a big star, and one of the greatest reversals in team history was underway.
Enter Doug Flutie, the marquee quarterback lured to Toronto by $1 million contract. The chance to match minds with daring coach Don Matthews.
I was very close to signing. We talked. He said, this is the way things are here. You're in control. You're going to call your own plays. You're going to have more fun playing football than you ever have in your life.
We have a colorful group. This guy's a very interesting group, for lack of a better word.
They were good and they knew it. They had all the right moves.
The coach has been very good at treating us like men and getting us to understand that we can have fun and still win.
Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie!
Donnie is probably the oldest teenager on the team.
Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie! Go, Donnie!
I do not have a dance, nor will I ever have a dance.
We have to get him to the point of spontaneity. Then I think it'll bring out the true Flutie, sweet feet Flutie. That's a good ring to it, yeah.
Flutie and pinball choreographed a record-breaking season. For those few who stuck it out, they were coming around again.
You appreciate it's a little bit sweeter after you've had the down years to have a year like this.
You guys feel unstoppable?
Well, yeah, we do. We feel like, you know, if we go out there and execute, we can beat any team we play.
The Hollywood stars are gone now, but glamour has given way to strut. For those players who know how fleeting fame can be, the chance to win again is precious.
Well, the Argonauts on the field here with about 35 minutes to kick off. Don't seem bothered by the cold weather and the snow, but as I told you earlier, folks, Darren Flutie stuck his head in and said, Brian, we love these conditions to play under. Right now, a look at more of the tacticians.
At 6'3", 215 pounds, Robert Drummond commands attention and rolls up the yards with quickness and strength. He knows where the end zone is and was a large part of Toronto's productive offense as he became an integral part of the Argos' ground attack. Robert Drummond also knows the way to the Grey Cup. This is his third consecutive championship game, where he's looking to run his win streak to 2 in a row. And 2 out of 3's not bad at all.
So you think you're ready for the pros? Think you're good enough? Fast enough?
You kidding?
Man enough? Ever had an Arcelux?
No.
Stay in school, kid.
McDonald's Arch Deluxe. It's the burger with the grown-up taste.
Inside its armrest are storage compartments. The map pockets are thoughtfully divided. Its roomy rear seats have underseat bins. And the bed converts into a shelf. In the all-new Dakota, even the conveniences have conveniences. The new Dodge Dakota.
Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming to yours. Watch out, look around, we're coming,
New Coca-Cola Santa Packs, the only real holiday refreshment. Look for this display at your store.
Holiday refreshments like we bring. A proper Santa pack, it's always the real thing. Santa packs are coming, always Coca-Cola. You mean I have to wait here until you finish the canoe?
Thursday on CBC.
We're gonna eat bulrushes?
An elder tries to straighten the path of a young wayward.
Even the groundhog, dumb as they are, wouldn't use a birch log for a bridge.
Then
We've got Blackfoot on the American side, and we've got Blackfoot on the Canadian side. Which side do you come from?
Blackfoot side.
a journey leaves a mother and son trapped between borders.
Canadians? Blackfoot.
4 Directions premieres Thursday.
Back live at Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton. Again, Tim Horton buying the final 4,000 seats. So the game is technically a sellout, although officials thought there'd be a bigger rush for tickets with the Argonauts winning the Eastern Final last Sunday. That did not happen. As we handed over to Scott Oak and our game day crew, there's been so much talk about the demise of the league, and for good reason. Ottawa's gone. The future, will we see a Grey Cup like this again? To me, the great irony is, in spite of all the problems, 2 great teams, great coaches, and it should be a funny league.
Brian, you're exactly right. And what I'm struck by in this Grey Cup matchup is that these are the 2 best teams in all the land. Neither of them stumbled into this Grey Cup, and they both deserve to be here. I would say this, through all the trials and tribulations of the Canadian Football League, the game is still the thing. And this one above all the others, if you want to know what the Grey Cup means, then you just have to ask the players. It didn't matter what happened in the CFL this offseason, and a lot did. What happened on the field was the players remained focused on getting here to Hamilton. The success of any playing career is measured by how many Grey Cup rings a player has, and the only chance to get one in '96 is here in Hamilton. 9 teams started on the road, 2 remain. At the end of this day, 36 players will have realized a dream, and millions will share in it. There's no better place to be for a football game today than in our audience or here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. They've been filing in for over an hour now, and it's the kind of atmosphere you'd expect for a celebration of Canadian football on the field and off.
We are left only to imagine what this moment must be like. At long last, a chance to fulfill the dream of a lifetime. Just competing is an honor that overwhelms, full of emotion. But to win, to take your place in the history of a game that spans this century, this is a feat only a select few may enjoy. In moments, the 84th Grey Cup game, a defining moment for champions, for those who dare to imagine. There's no game bigger, no time like it. We're here, we're ready. It's cup time, people. The best of Canadian football. Who can wait? Flutie can float them or drive it home himself. Will the legend live on today? Mike's no slowpoke and surely no showboat. He'll let his feet do the talking. This Mike's role is search and destroy. He can make a shambles of any game plan. These guys are cold and calculating. Willie's the force. You can run, but you can't hide. McManus can be magic in any big game. He's got that certain something, and his name is Darren. Watch him pull some sleight of hand. What's left to say, except it's game time.
Well, the venue is Ivor Wynne Stadium. Kickoff less than 30 minutes away. The snow continues to fall. The mighty Toronto Argonauts, who cut a huge swath of the CFL this season, versus the Edmonton Eskimos, who got here the traditional way with a rock-solid defense. Welcome back to Ivor Wynne Stadium as we continue with Grey Cup game coverage. And what doesn't this 84th championship matchup have? First and foremost, it's got traditional Grey Cup weather. It also pits 2 extraordinarily talented brothers against each other. It features the best kick returners in the game. It's a matchup of an expensive team versus the economy model. And perhaps in its simplest terms, it's a rock-solid defense against the CFL's most potent offense. To describe the proceedings today, a former defensive star and a current quarterback, I speak of James Curry and David Archer. They'll be in the booth with Chris Cuthbert, who'll marshal traffic in his first ever Grey Cup call. And here are Chris, James, and Dave.
Thanks, Scott. Good evening, everybody. James Curry with a Grey Cup ring from the '83 Argos. You played for just about everybody but Hamilton, which surprises me since the folks at Ivor Wynne love mean, nasty football. Is that what we're going to see today because of the conditions?
Well, I think you were going to see that anyway, Chris. We're talking about possibly the 2 best defensive lineups in the CFL. Both of these teams like to go out and play tenacious brand of football. The coaches believe in that and expect it this afternoon.
David Archer, of course, a great quarterback for 4 years in the CFL. Chris Perez, the left tackle for the Argos, told me the other day, sometimes it doesn't matter how well we play as a team. Doug Flutie's like Michael Jordan. He can win on his own. Do you buy that?
I don't buy that. I think that he's going to have all the cylinders going today, and in the weather the way it is today, you're going to have people making catches, so that means Doug's going to have to be that much more accurate with the football, so people are going to have to make some plays for him. Doug's not going to be able to carry the whole thing today.
3 men in the booth and 3 phases of the game that could decide the 84th Grey Cup result. It's not just a cliche. Special teams can make the difference. Remember Gizmo against the Argos in '87. And 4 years later, the Rocket burned Calgary with an 87-yard kick return major. Last November in Regina, Baltimore's Chris Wright, a Grey Cup record 82-yard punt return major. And last week, Pinball's 91-yard opening kickoff return of the Eastern Final against Montreal. Gizmo and the Jet, the name of their game, instant field position. There's plenty of firepower even when Toronto and Edmonton aren't on offense. And a touchdown from one of them today could be decisive.
Chris, Melvin Hunter and Benny Goods leads a defense that epitomizes teamwork. It's a zone scheme that shows multiple fronts, and it could have the best front seven scheme that Doug Flutie has ever faced during his entire CFL career. The numbers speak for itself. 70 quarterback sacks during the regular season, but they have to face an almost immovable object in Toronto's offensive line. The big guys up front did not allow a sack in the 2 regular season meetings, and only 18 over the entire course of the season. And that's a luxury that any quarterback would love to have. David?
Well, we've got 2 quarterbacks that are very familiar with the surroundings and the pressure that go along with the Grey Cup. They're with different teams now than they were in '94 and '92, but they're playing with a tremendous amount of confidence and a drive to win another one. Flutie's been telling anyone that'll listen that this is the most fun he's had playing the game. Although Danny Mac's numbers don't necessarily match up with Doug's, he does do one thing very well, and that's win in the postseason.
No question, it's Danny McManus. Weather today, very interesting development here along with the snow is the fact that Doug Flutie is wearing those glass cutter gloves. David, does this surprise you?
It does surprise me because I don't think Doug has worn them all season long, and I haven't seen him wear them in the 4 years that I've played in this league. But it obviously means that it's on his mind. They played 11 times this season indoors.
Well, you have to think the psychological advantage at least goes to Edmonton with the weather. Unfortunately, one of their great veterans will not be in the lineup today. 12-year linebacker Larry Ruck. James, what impact will that have?
Well, you know, it's going to have a huge impact with Edmonton. Larry Ruck has been around for 4 Grey Cups with this team. He has really been the leader in this Edmonton defense. But you got the young man, Dixon, coming in the middle, expecting him to have a big game in front of hometown fans.
Yeah, Dixon is a Hamilton native, and Hamilton apparently is going to be cheering for Edmonton today. That's been very noticeable in the warm-ups. Now let's go back where it is a little bit warmer and rejoin Scott.
Chris, you'd have to have won one of these games to understand how much it means, and here are 2 men who qualified. Kent Austin shared in Grey Cup championships with Saskatchewan in '89, BC in '94. Dave Sapunjas played a significant role in Calgary's victory in '92. Been there, done that, and how much do they wish they were there this year? As it is, they're with us. We welcome Kent Austin and Dave Sapunjas as our game day analysts. Let's talk about the limitless subplots in this game. And Kent, first of all, the Toronto defense, I thought, was greatly overshadowed by the Argo offense this year for obvious reasons. Can the Toronto D carry the day?
Well, I think they can. They've obviously got one of the best defenses in the league. And let's not forget, they're being prepared by probably the best defensive mind in the CFL, and Don Matthews. Additionally, I think that their secondary matches up real well against the Edmonton receiving corps, except for one thing, and that is when you find Darren Flutie matched up against Ed Barry, I think that favors Edmonton.
Dave, you had 4 years with Doug Flutie in Calgary. You know the rap that's followed him since '93 when his hands froze when it was 40 below, and anybody's hands would have if your heater was broken then. But is it an unfair rap, and is it a bit rash to suggest whenever we have these kind of conditions that the Argos are in trouble because Doug Flutie can't play outdoors?
I think so. I've played with him in these conditions many times, and he's played fantastic. There was the one game in '93, and you're right. My hands were cold. Everyone else's were cold in the field, and it's no excuse. He probably woke up this morning, and when he saw the snow coming down, I bet you he said to himself he's looking forward to going out and proving.
Kent, you had one word for that rap.
Yeah, it's garbage. Like Dave, I've seen Doug play very well in adverse conditions, and I mean, whose hands wouldn't have been frozen in 40 below weather? So I think it's a bad rap.
Dave, they tried all week to get the media here to goad the brothers Flutie into saying something controversial about each other. The best they could get was Darren admitting that he cuts his hair in the locker room with the trainer's scissors while suggesting that Doug is a pretty boy who gets his hair blown dry. And how's that for a subplot? But what about the CFL axiom? Does the best Flutie win this game today?
Well, maybe. I mean, if Darren goes out there and catches 150 yards receiving and maybe 5-6 catches, then obviously they're moving the ball well, and Doug is not on the field. And if Doug goes out there and throws 4 touchdown passes and rushes for 50 or 60 yards, that means he's doing well. So maybe it does.
Kent, if Danny Mac is connecting early in this game with Sandusky and Darren Flutie, what's that tell us? And on the other hand, if he isn't, what's that tell us?
Well, if he's connecting early with Jim Sandusky, that probably means that Toronto's playing a lot of zone coverage, because I don't expect Sandusky to get much production in man-to-man coverage with the corners that Toronto has out on the field. Darren obviously is capable of putting up big numbers, and we'll just have to wait and see.
All right, I want to bring up the Verschavel factor. I talked about this during the season, but it merits mentioning again today. Pierre Verschavel, of course, no offensive lineman for Toronto. The Argos finished 7-11 a couple of years ago. A day after that, Pierre's wife Debbie gave birth to a 7-pound, 11-ounce son, Samuel. Phil. And then this year, when the Argos were 10-2, Debbie gave birth on that day to 10-pound, 2-ounce daughter Claire. So the question is this: if Debbie Verschabel could give birth today to a 17-pound, 3-ounce baby, would the Argos have this thing won?
That's too many numbers for me. I think so. I feel sorry for Debbie. That's true.
You guys ponder the Verschabel factor while we talk about the weather. It's going to be more of a factor than originally forecast today. The snow was not expected to accumulate it, but it has been. It's been tough for the crew here. They've had to both plow the field and brush it off. They've been working steadily now for about 3 hours, and it's proving a difficult task to keep the turf clear. The wind could also be a factor, perhaps as much as the snow, which, as you can see, is not letting up. 22 minutes and counting to kick off at Ivor Wynne Stadium. Current conditions are less than perfect, but Grey Cups are often a test of the environment. It's part of the game's history, and Austin and Sapunjas have almost got this Verschabel thing figured out. The Eskimos, officially the home team today. They're also that in the hearts of most of the fans who can't bring it to themselves to cheer for the Argos. We'll be back.
Designed Nissan Maxima. It's attracting a lot of attention.
Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming, Santa bags are coming to your town. Watch out, look around, we're coming,
New Coca-Cola Santa Packs, the only real holiday refreshment. Look for this display at your store.
Holiday refreshments like we bring. A wrapper Santa pack, it's always the real thing. Santa packs are coming, always Coca-Cola.
The hotline, I think, is one of the great innovations of this program over the last few years. So you're getting not just news and facts and information, you're getting someone's opinion. And they just come up with these wonderful little quick zing, and they put their finger right on it. It's wonderful. I think that people who listen to Morning Watch regularly really feel as though they are part of the program.
Listen to Paul Vasey weekday mornings on CBC Radio 1550.
Back at Ivor Wynne Stadium, where a great deal of attention's been paid this week to what happened in the stadium 24 years ago. You're not in a time warp. These are the fans who turned out in '72 to watch Ian Sutter boot the Ticats to victory over Saskatchewan. And from the fans of '72 to the fans of '96 who await the kickoff between the Argos and Eskimos, it's now less than 20 minutes away. The Eskimos are bidding for their 12th Grey Cup, the Argos their 13th, and it just does not matter if they're representing Ontario, because they cannot catch a break from the fans here at Ivor Wynne, who don't find it in their blood to cheer for Toronto. You will not miss any aspect of this Grey Cup championship contest. Developments at field level being tracked by Mark Lee and Steve Armitage. Let's go first to Mark Lee at the bench of the Toronto Argonauts. Mark?
All right, Scott, all kinds of talk this week about how confident, bordering on cocky, the Argos have been after their 15-3 season and their blowout win in the Eastern Final over Montreal. Well, just how relaxed were they leading up to this game today? At 1 o'clock this afternoon, running back Robert Drummond and teammate were found shopping in a downtown Hamilton mall. Now, I didn't get a chance to look into their bags, but if they had the same thing in mind that I did, it was long underwear. This after a rough night for the Argos in their hotel here in Hamilton. A teammate told me that the players were awakened at 2 o'clock in the morning after the power was taken out of their floor in the hotel. Some rowdy Edmonton fans were running up and down the floor, banging on doors, yelling, "Go Eskimos." So, a broken night of sleep and a shopping spree, the hours leading up to this big game for the Argonauts. With more on the Edmonton Eskimos, let's go to Steve Armitage.
Mark, I'm not sure how the Eskimos spent the night, but they were certainly relaxed and very comfortable with the conditions here at Ivor Wynne Stadium. I had a chance to talk to the Giz, Henry Williams, he of electrifying kick returns, and he kept singing, "Let it snow, let it snow." He said, "I prayed for this, and my prayers were answered." Darren Flutie, who could be a big factor for the Eskimos in the receiving department, said, "I love these conditions. This is exactly what we wanted." The head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos, Ron Lancaster, came over and chatted and said, "You know, the only thing that's missing is the sleet. Where is the sleet?" He said, "Hey, we like these conditions. We think we can play well on them." Scott?
All right, Steve, and the betting line is the Toronto Argonauts by 6.5 points. The Eskimos have graciously accepted their role as underdogs, but do not discount the similarities between the Eskimos of '96 and the Eskimos of '93. 3 years ago, the Eskimos got hot at just the right time and won it all. Final thoughts now from Chris Cuthbert, James Curry, and David Archer.
Well, Scott, I'd like James Curry to take us into the dressing room. In 1983, you were getting ready to go out in the field for the Toronto Argonauts about 15 minutes beforehand. Tell us how you were revving your motor then and what's going on in those two rooms.
Well, Chris, this is a game like no other that you'll ever play in your career, whether you've been there or not. It's gut check time. You're making sure you have all your faculties in place, and you don't want to leave anything unprepared and not ready to leave out on the field.
And the thermal underwear as well. David Archer, how does it change for a quarterback? Because you can't just go on adrenaline if you're Doug Flutie or Danny McManus right now.
Well, your preparation has happened all week long, so the hay's in the barn, so to speak. It's the antsy time, waiting to get out on the field and try to do the things that you do well. So I think they're ready to play. It's just the butterflies are wanting to fly right out through the mouth. They want to get out and get it done.
Yeah, and on a personal level, Tony Burst, Mike Kislak, teammates of yours last year, what do you think is going on with them?
Well, I'm happy for them because this is a chance for them to play for it all. We had a chance to last year and didn't get it done. Here's a chance for them to get a ring.
James, the Eskimos do have more experience. They certainly have more experience in these conditions. Will that tell the tale today in any way?
I think it's a great equalizer. Edmonton loves the inclement weather, and this is that type of game. We saw them score 68 points in a couple of weeks ago. So look for them to come out prepared and play a great defense and offensive game today.
The only thing we know for sure is before the day started, the Toronto Argonauts were 6.5-point favorites, but just about everybody agrees to throw that line out the window right now. And we're going to close the window soon, I hope, and go back downstairs and join Scott.
All right, Chris, the last time the Eskimos and the Argonauts met in the Grey Cup game was 1987 at BC Place in Vancouver, and that's remembered as one of the finest displays of championship football ever. The Eskimos won it with a 49-yard field goal in the final minute of the game. Does this one have the potential to come down to the same sort of dramatic finish? I suppose if the Eskimo defense can play the way it has all season long. Only about 16 minutes to kick off now. The Eskimos and Argos getting set to take the field at Ivor Wynne Stadium. When we come back, you'll meet the men who firmly believe they can carry their teams to victory in the 84th Grey Cup game. Player introductions are next.
I wonder what it would be like if people made promises and kept them. I say I'm going to do something, I do it. You could actually count on it. Imagine if everybody just kept their word. What would the world be like then?
We're M-Banks. We're a whole new kind of banking from Bank of Montreal. We believe in keeping promises. We're M-Banks.
Imagine.
Anybody hear me? Oh God, we've got McDonald's down here! Please just try and get us out of here! I'm telling you, we are not leaving you here!
You have a choice.
No, not a bitch you!
Daylight. Daylight breaks Friday, December 6th.
Help a buddy pull a stump out of the ground. Take the family snowmobiling. Fill it with planks and build the kids an outdoor rink. Volunteer as a designated driver. Dodge Ram.
More and more Canadians use Magic Bag to relieve pain and promote relaxation. Available in 2 sizes, this all-natural thermotherapeutic pad marvelously embraces all contours of the body. At last, an essential product that's a real pleasure to receive as a gift. Magic Bag, the new way for Canadians to relieve pain and promote relaxation.
There's the view of Ivor Wynne Stadium on Grey Cup Sunday. Eskimos and Argos have been practicing here since midweek, and since about Thursday, I think, they've been itching to play this game. Waiting is often the worst part of it. A chance now to hear once again from our game day analyst, Kent Austin of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Dave Sapunjas of the Calgary Stampeders. Kent, the Eskimo offense didn't exactly overpower the Calgary Stampeders in the West Final last week. Did just enough to win. Did overpower you 2 weeks earlier, obviously, in that 68-7 debacle. But can it win playing the same kind of ball that it played against Calgary last week? Can it win that way today?
I don't think so. I don't think that you can expect Toronto's offense to only score that few points. If Edmonton's defense comes up and plays big and the snow continues to accumulate on the field, then I think Edmonton's got a better chance because it favors them in the running game. Other than that, I think you can see Toronto score more than 12 points.
Dave, you were the most outstanding Canadian in '91. Grey Cup game was played in Winnipeg that year, and you recall well the Argos coming onto the field, holding their helmets up high, celebrating already, and many accused them of being showboats, but they won. Do you see any of that in this Argo team?
Oh, for sure. They came out with a lot of attitude in '91. I think you'll see that now, and that's sort of indicative of Don Matthews. He has a lot of confidence, and so do his players. They'll come out with a lot of pride, and they'll show a lot of character because they have a lot of character.
All right, the moment is upon us now. Edmonton and Toronto are all set to work it out. We've analyzed this game 8 ways to Sunday, but it's left for the players to settle the issue on the field, and so we're ready to meet the people who will render the decision. Steve Armitage will handle the player introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, we'd like to introduce the players for the 84th Grey Cup game. Beginning with the Western champion Edmonton Eskimos and their starting defensive unit. At end, number 46 from the University of Wisconsin, Melvin Hunter. The nose tackle, number 79 from Montreal, Derek McCready. Number 40 at defensive tackle from Alcorn State, Benny Goods. At the other defensive end from Bishop's University, number 89, Leroy Blue. A linebacker from Washington State, number 27, Senor Mobley. At linebacker, number 36, from Simon Fraser, Hamilton's own Bruce Dixon. Also at linebacker, from the University of Kansas, number 39, Willie Pless. On the corner, from Furman University, number 24, Kavis Reed. Out of Memphis State, number 26, Glenn Rogers Jr. The safety, number 28 from Edmonton and the University of Alberta, Trent Brown. From the University of Colorado, at halfback, number 3, Darian Hagan. And on the other corner from Baylor, number 10, Malcolm Frank. Head coach Ron Lancaster and the rest of the Western champion Edmonton Eskimos. Eastern champion Toronto Argos and their starting offense. At center, the league's most outstanding lineman, number 63, Mike Kiselak. Starting at guard, number 58 from the University of Ottawa, Hamilton native Chris Giaskas. At the other guard, number 59 from Quebec City, Pierre Vercheval. At tackle, number 65 from the University of Calgary, New Westminster's Vic Stevenson. Also a tackle from the University of Kansas, number 62, Christopher Perez. Number 28 at running back from Saskatoon, Dwayne Dimitrition. Slot back, a Halifax native from Western, number 81, Tyrone Williams. Number 86 at wide receiver from Howard University, Jimmy Cunningham. From Hamilton, also at wide receiver, number 88, Paul Massotti. At running back, out of Syracuse, number 29, Robert Drummond. Number 31 at running back, from William and Mary, Mike Clemens. At quarterback, the CFL's five-time most outstanding player from Boston College, number 2, Doug Flutie. Head coach Don Matthews and the rest of the Toronto Argos. We direct your attention to center field as we welcome today's game officials. The referee from Townsend, Ontario, working his 10th Grey Cup game, number 62, Jake Ireland. From Ottawa, in his 4th Grey Cup, number 67, the umpire, Ross Saunders. Today's head linesman, number 76, also from Ottawa, Ron Artell. The line judge, number 29, from Bloomington, Illinois, his 1st Grey Cup, Doug Rosenbaum. Our side judge, from Goleta, California, number 47, Gary Cavaletto, another Grey Cup rookie. The back judge, number 22, Victoria, BC's Murray Clark, his 1st Grey Cup. And the field judge, from the city of Hamilton, number 54, Alan McColman, working his 7th Grey Cup game. The alternate referee is Ken Lazaruk, and the alternate official is Don Carmichael. Would you please rise and join Dan Chamroy, the 1996 Dora Music Award winner, now appearing in Robin Hood, for the singing of our national anthem. Escorting Dan is the officer's color guard of the Hamilton Detachment of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Dan?
Hey! glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for
We'd now like to call the team captains to center field to meet the Grey Cup dignitaries. His Worship, Robert Morrow, the Mayor of Hamilton, the Regional Chairman of the Hamilton-Wentworth District, Mr. Terry Cook, the Commissioner of the Canadian Football League, Mr. Larry Smith, the co-chairs of the '96 Grey Cup, Marnie Paikin and Ron Foxcroft, and presiding over the coin toss, an athlete who trains in Hamilton and won 2 bronze medals in cycling at the '96 Summer Olympics in Atlanta, Clara Hughes. And now for the coin toss, here's referee Jake Ireland. Jake?
Gentlemen, there's the head. There's the tail. Toronto, you're going to call it in the air, and I'm going to let it land on the ground. Heads is called. It is a tail. Edmonton, you have won the toss. You'll defer to the second half. Toronto, it's your choice. You'll take the ball? Thank you.
Let's go. The Argonauts are going to see. Jake, say hello to Marnie.
Well, they've worked their entire football lives just to have this chance. Doug has 5 Outstanding Player Awards, but only 1 Grey Cup ring. By the way, he's taken off those glass cutter gloves. Darren has 1 ring from 2 years ago. Which one of the brothers Flutie will secure final bragging rights today? The kickoff is next.
Chevy Blazer, the only sport utility vehicle with the driver control system. It's nice to know it's there.
Powered by partnership, driven by performance. The same motto that propels this rowing team to the top is the guiding principle at Dynamic Mutual Funds. Along with your independent financial advisor, you have a dynamic team of dedicated managers, partners, pulling together to achieve the only financial goals that really matter, yours. Dynamic Mutual Funds, your partner for dynamic performance.
It's that time of year.
I want that cheetor.
You've looked everywhere.
We have a lot of frustrated parents who get a hold of us.
Can the Toy Scalpers help you out?
I think it's a plot.
Marketplace, Tuesday night at 7:30.
A child draws what he remembers of the war. Memories of massacre. Memories that still divide the people of Rwanda. Genocide, the aftermath. Tuesday at 9 on Witness.
Introducing Plymouth Breeze. While it has 16 valves worth of acceleration and sleek aerodynamics, it also has a specially modified double wishbone suspension system for superior handling, which really makes the new Plymouth Breeze a lot of fun to drive.